All right, next track came from me. This was Magnolia and Johnson Electric Company with 20 Cycles to the Ground. This one was an extremely unique surprise to me that this was happening this year, where Will Johnson and the Magnolia Electric Company crew got together to pay a very unique tribute to Jason Molina and his music. Just quick background for those not aware, Jason Molina was Songs Ohio, did a lot of different things, and then in the early 2000s helped form this Magnolia Electric Company and really created just some of the best of this Americana scene in the early 2000s with Magnolia Electric Company. In 2009, actually 2008, Will and Jason recorded together and released their Molina and Johnson album in late 2009. And then sadly, we lost Jason in March of 2013. And so it's been about 12, maybe almost 13 years now that Jason's been gone, but his music and the songs that he had when he was here have created a ton of new weight and depth and meaning, and so many things that he was singing about depression and loneliness and suicide and alcoholism and the demons. It came into a new light over time. I also think that it wasn't there was no better time for this kind of letting Jason's music kind of get a chance to relive. I didn't know this project was happening, so in the middle of the year when they announced, I think it was on Will's Instagram, hey, we're doing this. He, of course, in Will's fashion, I'm honored to be a part of this project with the Magnolia guys, and they called it Magnolia and Johnson Electric Company, and they're going to do these, 3 dates in Texas, and then maybe some more dates. And I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. How do I get to see them? Where are they going to be? What are they doing? Which songs are they playing? And I was just all in, and a couple of friends of mine that I've made that are Jason Molina fans and Will Johnson fans and just music fans, we were all kind of, nerding out on this exciting new development that we were in, to kind of see Jason's music come alive again in this very cool way. And really kind of breathe life back into these songs that just needed to be heard again in this venue. And in some cases reinvented. And so in the track that I dropped here, this is 20 Cycles to the Ground, which is actually more of a Will Johnson fronted song, but they reinvented, and that was on the Molina and Johnson track, album from 2009. It's the opening track. They reinvented it with the Magnolia crew, which is, slide steel guitar and full drums and an organ and bass, and the full band was there. So to me, it was this breathing new life and a reinvention of a song that Will and Jason wrote together in Denton, actually, with Matt Pence, who produced that album. And so to me, that was exciting, as well as the video that you'll see is actually a new video of those live shows that they played in September in Texas. It's actually Denton at Rubber Gloves that a lot of the videos from. And what you see in there is, and I'll read the post, because I think this video captured something to me that was a 2025 moment for me, of seeing this group of people create this music live on stage. But it was the video was created by Josh Thoroud, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and Tim Getting, and they were trying to interpret the theme of 20 Cycles to the Ground kind of literally, and evoked for them images of these electric cycles and televisions and all these cathode ray tubes. And so they got in this media center and ran concert video through these analog devices and 2 cathode ray tubes to play the video and glitched it together. And then Matt Pence unearthed all these photos of Will and Jason writing the songs for that Molina and Johnson release. And so it's just somebody delivers this time capsule, shadow box, memory, scrapbook, whatever, and puts it to music. It just pulled me in. And for the whole last half of the year, when I wasn't listening to Friendship or Ken Pomeroy or Sister Ray, I was listening through the whole Songs Ohio and Jason Molina catalog and the Molina and Johnson stuff and the Magnolia Electric Company stuff. I never saw Magnolia Electric Company live. I never saw Jason Molina live. They were supposed to tour together, Will and Jason, in 2009, but Jason was sick and really struggling with a lot of alcoholism and demons, and that eventually, over the last few years of his life, really took a toll. The part that I'll add too is, to be able to see that they were posting shows again in the Carolinas. So Brett, there was this Asheville moment where I see them playing in Asheville, and I'm like, how do I get there? How do I make this happen? And to be in a setting like the Gray Eagle and see them play and have the fun with MJ Lennerman come on stage, the hometown hero, and the crowd kind of come alive with that. and the different kind of feels and the different songs that MJ brought to the stage that they hadn't played before. The gratitude to each other. I mean, how many different times, Brett, were they like thanking Will for doing this, and he's thanking them, and they're thanking Jake, and they're thanking us. There was just so much gratitude, and again, that positivity around a really kind of dark and hard to hear songs come to life, knowing that it you know, ultimately Jason was singing about this you know, this pain, this constant pain. And it wasn't as much of a celebration, but it was we're here with him, he's here with us, and we feel this deeply. And so many people resonated with his music in that way. It was just super, super powerful to me. And to be, obviously, I will ride the coattails of Will Johnson and whatever he's doing and say, take me into this universe too. But to know how real it was for him, I went back into the timeline. So they recorded 2009, they released the album, Molina and Johnson. They didn't get to tour because he was sick. And then Jason passes away March 2013. Will does a living room show tour of the Western States, with Tucson being his first stop in April 10th, 2013. Jason passed away on March 16th. So it was less than a month away that Will was at our house. And I remember thinking, one, being starstruck by having a chance to be like one-on-one with my favorite musician, and also asking him questions about his family, and also feeling like I feel like it's too raw to ask him about Jason in this one-on-one setting. I'm going to leave it to Will and how to approach that. And the way Will did it was in the show, you know, in the living room in our little guest house, which had great acoustics. I was so proud of the way the empty sound, or the empty room, made this just full sound of just Will and his guitar. And I remember being kind of brought to tears a bit by just Will's music in general, and then him talking about Jason, and then playing a couple songs off this Molina and Johnson. And it was just, it you know, the awkwardness of living room shows is it's so quiet. But you could just feel the quiet in the moments of him talking about Jason, and him still processing a lot of those things, of losing this guy that he wrote some music with, that was very powerful and has always stayed with me. The interesting thing that I thought was super cool about the show in Asheville was Jason, the guitarist, not Jason Molina. Jason, I think it's Growth is maybe how you say his last name. He was the guy with the long curly hair, Brett, that was playing guitar and talking a lot. Super great personality. He in the middle of the songs during the show, he would, you know, they'd insert little stories about Jason always loved the song, but he didn't want it to rock, so we're going to rock it now. Or Jason always thought about this song being like this, and we're going to play it that way. But he read off his phone. He's like, I found an email from Jason back in 2008 that he came to me, and he was reading about an email from Jason Molina to Jason Growth about, hey, I want to go do this album with Will Johnson, but don't, you know, I don't want that to be upsetting to the Magnolia guys, because Will just seems like a cool guy. I want to make music with him. Don't read this the wrong way. Magnolia is still my, you know, I still am in this. And he was reading this, and it was Jason's words in an email, and it just felt like he was all with us. And as a fan, you don't always get that like intimate access to the band group text or the band email chain. And it felt so powerful to me that I was honored to be there. It felt privileged. The crowd was really into it. Being there with Brett, Sean, knowing you were there with us in spirit, seeing my good buddy Dave Barbeau, which was a random surprise, and Brett, like, how do you come into Asheville and you know the first person at the venue and not one of Brett's friends? And then, of course, Brett saw a bunch of people that he knew too. It was a super special moment for me, and I think live music will always be something that influences my best of year lists. You know, seeing it, experiencing it, being able to participate in it, feeling what the band, the musician is trying to communicate, and actually having it land. That's kind of everything to me, and this capsulated it in a very big surprise this year that this was happening. The good news is they're not done touring. They've got a East Coast, Northeast in April, and Philly and DC and Amherst and Brooklyn. My buddy Carl, who I invited Sean to use your third ticket when you couldn't make it. He couldn't make this one, but he's like, you know, his son's in Brooklyn, so he's like, let's go to Brooklyn to see them again. And I'm like, ooh, let me figure out how to make that happen. I think they're probably going to be, you know, doing this for a little bit longer, because I think they felt how resonating it was with the crowds. The Texas tour, the Carolinas tour, the East Coast, there'll probably be some others in there, because I think Jason's music and Will's music and the Magnolia crew's music, it's touched a lot of people in a pretty profound way, and it's worth giving that some more homage and celebration throughout a little bit longer. A couple more plugs. There's an amazing book. Erin Osman wrote a book called Writing with the Ghost. Brett actually found out Erin was at that show in Asheville. I don't think she's from Asheville, but she was at the show Asheville because she posted the next day in Asheville doing a thing, and it was her getting interviewed because there's a documentary coming out. And it's the title's hilarious, but I'll just give you the initials of YFFIO, and it's PG. So hi, Mom. I'll keep it. You guys figure it out, which is something that Jason would say. And so there's a documentary of Jason and his world, his musicianship, his unique perspective on things, how he brought things to the table, his style, his friendship, his brokenness, is going to be something that I think will continue to be on display because people are really starting to kind of pay attention to it a little bit more. So I'm really grateful that Erin was wrote that book that Josh, my buddy, got me for Christmas, I think 2 years ago, and it's super powerful to read the story. But to have her at the show was pretty cool too, just to kind of get that feeling. So lots to talk about. I know I kind of ramble on about this, but it's just kind of the one that hit me the most. And Brett, it was really happy to be able to share that moment with you for the 3-hour show that my back's still kind of reeling from, but it was a pretty big moment, and happy to have shared it with you.
Yeah, it was awesome to be there with you. It was awesome to have you come into town. It was kind of fun to drive up and have my car, when I got you in from the airport, land on 190,000 miles exact, like right to the zero. And I was like, oh my God, there's Sean. He's here with us. That's so cool. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, it was an incredible show. I think my favorite moment was when Jason Groth, he was making the joke about this being the Will Johnson show, and Will was kind of throwing it back like you were saying, and then Jason kind of looks at the whole band and he goes, well, thanks to Jason Molina for making this happen. I thought that was a really like a funny but also really bittersweet comment to say, and everybody got it, and there was a lot of laughter, and I think that there was a solemn feel for, the gravity around Jason Molina's life and the artistry that he brought to the show. So that was really cool. Yeah, and it was very interesting to me to walk into a room. Asheville's still a small town, but it's gotten like we've grown a lot to the point where in the early 2000s when I was here, I would go to a show and I would know 20 people easy, and it wouldn't take long for me to walk in the door and see a few familiar faces, and then to walk in and see 0 familiar faces, and for you to like spot somebody that you knew right away. I was just like, wow, how is this happen? How is my little brother from Minnesota walking into an Asheville bar and knowing one person where I know 0? And then it took your buddy a moment to say, oh, hey, there's Tyler Ramsey. I was like, finally, I know somebody. And it happened to be Tyler Ramsey that I knew. And how cool is it that a musician like Tyler Ramsey is showing up to that show? Like, I don't see Tyler Ramsey out hardly at all for social anything. And not that I'm around a lot either. So it may also just be the nature of both he and I focusing on family time and different things in our lives. But I used to see him around all the time. Like, I would see him at shows, I would see him at his shows, I would see him at social gatherings. And so that was really just super sweet. I love how much Will Johnson means to you, and I love the tracking and all of the various threads that get pulled on making this album. I also love that they're from Denton, or that the collaboration originally happened in Denton, and that this show that is in the video recording is in Denton as well. That just feels like a cool historical footnote based on where we grew up. And yeah, great track, great band, great project. I noticed that they're doing 4 dates in April 2026. Mm-hmm. So if you listen to this and you are excited to go see them, pick one of those dates and find them, because it's an incredible show. It's an incredible experience. Highly, highly recommend it.
Well, it's always enjoyable to hear you talk about Will Johnson, and there's always space for that, for you to go as deep into it as you want to. I know the podcast probably could be 4 hours long just about him, or just about or the 5 best songs of the year could be all from him. I know that to be true. And then also to hear y'all talk about that show. The dates didn't work for me, but I was happy y'all worked together and spun a few songs from what I thought he might play that night. So it was nice to have y'all there. I think what stands out to me about Will Johnson in general is an unpretentiousness and just just an artist across many various forms, and just a lot of honesty and feel and presence and those types of things that make the work feel really honest and true. And so and really, I think percentage-wise, the number of people that are really into Will Johnson seems really high. Like there's not a lot of passive fans, I guess, is what I mean. People are really into it. And so each time his work comes up, I think it's a little bit of a new light shined on his catalog, and that's always appreciated. It's interesting, I think, how he's so prolific in a lot of ways, and then some of the work that I've appreciated the most has been times when he's collaborating with somebody else and sort of allowing his perspective to be partially shaped by someone else. I really appreciate the reinvention part of the story and bringing the old record back to life and allowing it to be celebrated. And, we've talked about this in previous episodes. I sure hope that someone who's passed knows the love that was for them, before they passed, especially someone who was struggling with addiction or other demons, as you had said, Grant. Sometimes you wonder if the demon crowds out that person's awareness of how much love there is around them. So hopefully, that's something that, still finds its way to Jason. About the song itself, it's so easy to listen to, and the chorus of the that, I think that's really pleasant. It sounds like a lot of well, I don't know that it sounds like as much as it's familiar in a way that other music is familiar, almost like Creedence Clearwater Revival kind of feel. And I really like that they can construct a song like that, and then the 2-part guitar solo, with different effects and different ways that they're playing it, I think is really nice. And the pedal steel from the band, just a lot to like in the song, and just very, very easy to listen to. And still kind of brings me back to every time I hear Will Johnson, makes me think of the time that we went to Atlanta to see him, and because there were a lot of songs that I didn't know that he played that night, and I still feel like I need that set list to know what did I hear that night, and was it one of these songs, because it feels familiar in some way, but then I can't really place it in other ways. So I'm glad this landed on your best of list, and that you bring it forward with the story of reinvention and bringing the band back together and all the gratitude and all that stuff that came along with it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me talk about it too. Will did actually drop a solo album this year too in April, Diamond City, which was great. It was on high up on my list for sure, but this kind of bowled me over with how powerful this was. Mm-hmm. He's actually Rhett Miller's podcast, Rhett Miller from the Old 97s, his Wheels Off podcast just featured Will Johnson too, but I think the recording was back in the summertime. So he doesn't really talk about this project. He talks about his Diamond City show, but it's really cool to hear Rhett and Will talk about their friendship, the Funland Old 97s and the Melt Old 97s kind of connection, and Will's story and why he creates, and how he yearns for being on stage with friends making melodies is kind of what he said. And I'm like, that's brilliant, man. That's what the essence is here. He talks about his family. He talks about how he creates and stuff like that. So with that, we'll let y'all hear it. This is the reinvention of 20 Cycles to the Ground. Please go back and check the original on Molina and Johnson's 2009 release. But this is the Magnolia and Johnson Electric Company version. Please go check out their tour dates as well. Here's 20 Cycles to the Ground.